everybody, welcome to Triple Play. What a fun day this is. I'm here with Misty and Natalie, and we have a new template and lots of surprises for you. So this is our regular old Simple Wedge, and we made the wing that goes on the outside. So we've got 3 great projects to show you. So what do you say, girls? Shall we get to it?
Let's do it.
All righty.
All right, so my quilt I called Layered Diamonds, and that is because I made these diamonds here, and then these ones are on top of it.
It looks so cool.
It's very logical.
I love it.
But I think it turned out really cute, and it's going to be fun to make. So
It was fun to watch you make it because you're like laying it out on the floor and you have to get
yes, it is one of those ones that you have to lay out before you can make the blocks, and I know that's a little bit more tedious in the beginning. But then you just pin everything together and sew it up and put it back together like a puzzle. It's no big deal.
It's awesome. And I love, she always uses the floor. She has a design wall and she's down there on the floor.
It's just easier to move things around.
It is
and
so
sometimes,
much easier.
So with the wall, you have to pin everything in.
Yes.
Or it will fall down.
Yes.
And I just like to get it all out on the,
Shuffle it
around.
yes, exactly.
Yep.
Rearrange as I go. To make my quilt, you'll need 1 package of 10-inch squares, and I've used Glow by Wishwell for Robert Kaufman. You'll need 1/4 yard of each of 2 different accent fabrics, and I went with pink and green. You'll need 1/2 yard for your inner border. Your outer border, you'll need 1.25 yards. For your backing, you'll need 4 yards with vertical seams or 2 yards of a 108 wide. Other tools that will be helpful are the large Simple Wedge template and the large wing template. All right, you're gonna take each of your layer cake squares, and your whole layer cake you divide in half. So half of them you're going to get 2 of your Simple Wedge triangles.
Mm-hmm. You want to cut them?
Sure, I will do that.
Do you want a rotating mat? I can make your dreams come true.
I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm good, and I'm just going to start kind of out here. This whole piece gets cut off, so I'm not worried about going all the way to the edge.
There you go.
Was there any rhyme or reason on how you split it up? Like as far as lights and darks or anything
so
like that?
actually the Glow pack
Yeah.
pretty much has 2 of each.
Okay.
It's
that's
kind of,
cool.
it's pretty
okay,
even.
So you did 1 in each pile, basically.
Yes, but then also the way that this works out is you'll have 2 of these that match, and then on your wing you get 4 out of it. So then you'll always have the right number of pieces because you'll need 4 wing templates to make this part and 2 Simple Wedge pieces to make the middle part.
I love how
So it works out perfectly. Even if you don't have doubles of everything, you're still going to have the doubles that you need from the cuts that you use in the 10-inch square. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm going to put this back and finish this cut. I got distracted and lifted it. Here, I just need to scoot a little bit this way, Mom. You're fine. Get really close. And then this one just fits right up here, nice and neat. And every once in a while, you just have like a little bit of extra where those peaks are. So I just cut those off. Whoops. And you'll end up with 2 of your Simple Wedge triangles. And what we're going to do is just cut the entire half into triangles and then the entire other half into those wedge pieces. And I'll show you how we do that.
You want that one?
Sure. It's a great one.
Oh, that's pretty too.
Whichever,
this is a really fun
whichever
line of
one you
fabric.
want. It's beautiful and bright. It's good for the holidays, but I think it's also like a fun kids holiday quilt. Like it's just so
It's
bright
just
and
really
fun.
happy.
It's really cute.
All right, so now for the wing templates, what you want to do is fold your fabric in half because you're going to need pieces that are opposite from each other. And by folding it in half, you'll get a front and a back. And I'm going to cut just along this one side. I'm going to line it up best I can with that corner. And then I'll pull these apart and stick this on this section, and I'm going to line it up with the angle because that's a straight edge. And then I'm going to cut this fold off here. And that one, and then I'm just going to, let me just turn this way. There you go.
Get all those angles.
Yep. So what you're looking for are 2 pieces that fit nicely on both sides of your triangle. Just like that.
So easy.
Yep. So that's the whole quilt. It's this simple block. But the layout is the part where it gets tricky because you can't just make them like this. They have to intersect.
Okay.
So this block right here has this candy print and this ornament print on one side. And then this one, this same middle, is like hollies and red ornaments.
I
so
see.
you can't necessarily like make all your blocks the same or...
Right, because actually I'm noticing in here, the sides are always a different print.
Sides are
too.
always different.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So you're gonna go ahead and separate your layer cake into 2 piles, get them all cut, and then once that's done, you're gonna lay your whole quilt out. And I'm gonna show you how to do that. I've got some pieces already cut. So we're gonna start with, what I did to start out is I started making I started with the big diamond. Once you put all of those together, so these ones connect in rows up and down and point to point. So you can put your big diamonds together, point to point and up and down. And then you're just filling in the gaps with the other diamonds.
Here's 2 big diamonds.
All right. And I
Here's
tried
2
to,
big ones.
yeah, so I just lined them up like this. It was an easy way to get started on that layout. And then what you're going to do is add these guys, and they are kind of particular. They have to go on the right sides. Whoops.
Doesn't that
And
one go-
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. No,
Okay.
so this one is going to go up here to create another diamond. So then you fill in.
I see how it goes.
Does that make sense? So this is
puzzles
how,
coming together in
yeah,
my
so this
head.
is how you have the 2 pieces that are opposite. This one goes,
And then you should. This is hard if you're angly challenged.
I am a little bit, I think,
Wait, I think
There we
it's
go.
just like this, right?
This way.
yes, thank you, Misty.
And this way.
So that, nope,
Nope.
that one has to be up this.
How did that happen?
Oh, wait. Here's another one.
Let me just say, it was a little bit, the layout is a little bit of a challenge,
Okay.
but be patient. And if you have a better eye for angles, it won't be any problem at all. No problem, I promise.
And if you don't, you just keep turning the piece until it fits.
It will fit
really is
eventually.
a
So your
puzzle.
straight line goes in the middle, your angled line goes next to the triangle.
Okay.
All right? And I didn't worry too much. There's a lot of double prints, so I didn't worry if I had the same fabric,
you
as
still
long
have
as they
so
were
much
contrasting
contrast, yeah.
colors. Yeah.
Wait for it.
The other thing is you have, so you'll have your outside edges. So a lot of these pieces can be found in the sides or, just in different places. So you'll see these 2 match up in these corners, and then the same with these ones down here at the base.
I see.
You'll be able to get all of your edges and all of your sides.
And then it ends
I
up.
put one in. It took me a while.
Yay, good job.
You got it.
Awesome.
All right, what else do we got here?
Well, I don't think we need to keep going. I mean, it's going to take a minute to lay all your pieces out, but then what you're going to do when you get ready to sew, I separated mine just a little bit by rows. And then what I did is I put together these 3 pieces and stuck a pin in them. And if you are the person who writes letters or numbers on your rows, I would do, row 1, block 1, and then you can stack up the whole row and sew these pieces together. So let's go ahead and stitch this one together, Misty, if that's okay. You're just going to do this piece. And I lined up the base,
Okay.
and the point just hangs off a tiny bit, which basically shows that you have a quarter inch.
Quarter inch. Okay.
So we'll just do one side and then the other. And I didn't press mine. You can press them on each side if you want to. I didn't press until I had both sides on because I'm wanting to hurry up and get it done.
And then you just
Yep,
fold this back.
finger press that back and then line this one up. Yep, just go point to point. And this should cross over just a little bit.
Okay. Ooh, there's a thread caught there. Just a second. Get it all.
I'm thinking these would make really cute star legs too.
They're great star legs. These would be awesome in a number of projects.
Yep.
Go.
And I'm
Okay,
actually
let me hide.
really
No idea.
excited. Would you like to do one more by any?
Sure, I will do whatever you need.
Okay, I'm gonna pick these pieces up and give them to you.
Okay.
I'm going to flip this over, make sure it's right. Look how nice that is.
Okay, so now that we have this piece, I'm gonna let Misty go ahead and So that one and maybe this one, I don't know. Okay, so now that we have our little pieced square, we're going to square it up.
Okay.
These are going to end at 7.5 by 8, 7 by 8.5. So I started always by trimming off the bottom because that's typically my straightest edge. I know that that's a piece of the cut from the template. It's an easy place for me to start with squaring up these blocks. And it's not your typical square up that has a half square triangle line down the middle.
Here, Jenny.
Okay.
Okay, so I flip that around, line that up with the mat, because in this situation we're squaring using the mat and our ruler. I'm gonna count over here to the 8.5. One of the things that I like to watch for is this point. I wanna make sure that I have enough to keep my point, although it's not a huge deal if you don't. They just kind of blend into each other a little better, or, you know, more than they should. All right, so as long as this is straight against that line, then I'm gonna go ahead and cut this one. And then I'm gonna turn it and I'm gonna center it because I need a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the reason that I center it is so that I can cut a similar amount off both sides. The other thing I look at is this point right here. I wanna kind of make sure that I have a similar amount, although we're gonna cover that up with our 2.5-inch squares, so it's not a big deal. It's just for, when I eyeball with a plan. So I have a few things that I look at and then I just let the rest go. So I'm trying to make sure that in my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'm about in the middle, which is 3.5. And then down here, these are pretty similar. That's all I look at. Then I'm gonna go ahead and trim this side here.
And you're really just trimming little bits.
Just trimming little bits, and it makes them super easy to stitch together because they're all the same size, they're squared up. Well, rectangled, whatever you want to call it.
You got 2 more here.
Okay, so let me just square these.
I think it's good for people to see it a few times because they, you know, this is one of the things, people all the time when they make a block, they're like terrified to like cut it
up.
and make a mistake.
Yeah.
You know, and I always say, if you make a mistake, then you square to the smallest block. And then you square
That helps a lot, yes. And it makes putting everything together so much easier.
8.5 that direction, right?
Yep, 8.5. And then these ones this goes to 7. And I'm not really using like, I'm just looking at this grid and I know that I have 7 across here. Because my block is already pretty close to that size anyways. It's not really complicated. I could do this on any area. I could turn it. Turning it's easier for me. But I do keep putting it back in line on this other edge so that I know that I'm going to continue to have that. One more.
Awesome.
Okay. It's interesting how, you know, I would probably start from this end because I'd be so afraid of losing that.
I didn't end up having too much trouble with that. I have done it both directions. So yeah, that's a great idea. If you're worried about losing your point, start with your point edge and make sure that you leave a 1/4 of an inch so that you keep your point, and then flip it around to the other side. That's a really good tip, Mom. I like it.
Every once in a while I have one.
All the time. So many great tips.
Well, it's so many brains work differently, and it's my favorite thing in quilting is to watch how people come up with things because they're, you know, they come at it from a completely different direction than I do a lot of times.
All right, so our next step in this quilt is to add the 2.5-inch squares, and that's with our accent fabric. I have these pinks and these greens, and I just cut the whole thing up into 2.5-inch squares, and then we're just going to snowball these corners. So you're looking for a block that looks like this, and what that means is that every time you have a block that looks like this, you're going to put a pink square on the right and a green square on the left throughout the whole quilt. There's no more thought to it than that. They're pink and green, right and left.
Okay.
And as long as it's facing this direction. So I will have you add these to this. And when I did it, I just did all of my right sides with all the pinks. I just string pieced them through, and then I just flipped that block around and did the left side with all the greens.
That's perfect.
So I'll give you a couple of those. And you can draw a line if you want. You're going to sew straight on the line, just a regular snowballed corner, point to point. Yeah, you can draw the line, press the line, or use the seam tape, or any other method that you have for snowballing.
Misty, those nails are so pretty.
Thank you.
Beautiful nails.
There we go.
All right.
And then-
So do you want to press, or, well, we'll trim these off, yeah.
Let's see. I'm just going to hand that off to Misty.
Do you want to have her do this last one?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, might as well, since we're
Might
doing,
as well.
we're going to get all 3 of these blocks completed, and then we'll lay it out again so you can see how they fit into the layout. So there's
You
that
can trim
one.
that and I'll place
Yep.
those. I'll move this back here. Once you get the layout done, though, this does go together fairly quickly.
Yes.
And it's pretty painless sewing, but it has such a good
Press
oomph
that
to it.
back.
It's got a beautiful look to it.
I did think after I got the whole thing sewn together that it would be cool to snowball these corners too.
Ooh,
Extra,
that's another
all the
quilt.
snowballs.
That's another quilt.
Another layer of diamonds.
Yes.
Triple layer.
Go.
All right.
Okay.
Oh,
Now if
can't
we
iron it
actually
till it's trimmed.
put a pin on it with a row 1 block 1, the layout goes back together so much easier.
Oh.
Because at this point I don't even know which one is our first block, as I can't remember.
It's all right. We'll just play with it, right?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. All right, so I think I have this ready.
Okay, so once you've got your snowballs on, then you can go ahead and start putting them back into your layout. It helps to have things pinned and I usually will sew a row and then put it back down with the original quilt so that I make sure that I stay on track. Because it's pretty
I would
easy.
probably label these blocks for
Yeah.
my brain.
It's pretty easy to get mixed up.
And I would probably pick up 2 and go to my sewing machine and walk back, you
just
know.
do
Yes.
one at a time, yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense.
So you can see here we have our.
Once
we
you
have
get that block
Yep.
sewn
This
and
one
have
still
his.
needs its pieces, which
These are going to go to this
these
next
guys
guy.
go here. We're just trying and reassemble the layout a little bit so you can see that you're going to continue sewing.
Oh yeah, and this guy's going to go in here.
Yep.
Voila!
That makes sense.
Yep.
It
So
all comes together.
yeah. So
All right.
that is how that goes.
So how many rows do you have over here?
So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
So 6 by 7. They are rectangular blocks, so they can only go one direction. The quilt ends up 60 by 63. So we use this great candy cane pattern. It's really cute. It has a large one and a small one, and the backing is this great, it looks like sparkly Christmas lights. There is one thing that I want to point out on this quilt though. On my inner border, I think you can tell that I went up here and did this out into the inner border, this little extra
I love that
piece
too.
that finishes off those diamonds. And that is a lot simpler than you'd think. It's only on the top and bottom. The sides are just solid or inner border 2.5 inch strips. So, but these ones are going to be that 8.5 length with a snowballed corner.
Okay.
So
really
super
cool.
simple. You just make sure that you know which one you're working on. You'll cut your 2.5 inch strip into 8.5 inch sections. And I did kind of lay mine out because, you know, I wasn't quite sure which one went which direction. But you're going to want to make sure that you snowball the opposite direction with the opposite color,
Right.
so that you can continue that cute little 4-patch.
I love it. It's
And
such a
that's
fun
it.
detail.
It's super simple.
And then
Yes. Yes. And then we made a mini version because with the little wedge, we have a little mini tools. So this is my mini, and it's made in exactly the same way, except I only used pink because I thought it would be cute. To make the mini layered diamonds table runner, you'll need 1 package of 5 inch squares, and I've used Glow by Wishwell for Robert Kaufman. You'll need a 1/2 yard of accent fabric. You'll need a 1/2 yard of your outer border. You'll need a 1.5 yards for backing. Other helpful tools are the small Simple Wedge template and the small wing template. And I didn't finish out the inner border. It was a tiny table runner, and I was like, I'm just gonna do this quick,
Look how cute
little
Such
thing.
a fun runner.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah,
Love the quilting on it.
thanks.
You did that yourself, didn't you, girl?
Yep, sure did.
That's awesome. All right, so Misty, you up next?
Sure.
All right, let's see what you did.
All right, this is my quilt.
I love this, Misty. This is
Thank
so
you.
cute.
I'm really happy with it.
And I love that it's too big for our space.
Yes,
That's awesome.
It's a really good size. It finishes 84 by 84, and I decided to call it Christmas Tree Farm because that's what it reminded me of. All these trees out in a field for us to go pick in the during the holidays.
Cute.
Thank you. And it's really, really simple to make. To make my quilt, you're going to need 1 package of 10-inch squares, and I've used Hustle and Bustle by Basic Gray for Moda. You'll also need 4 yards of background fabric, 1.5 yards for your outer border, and 7 3/4 yards backing or 2 3/4 yards of 108. And you'll also need the large wing template. So let me show you how I did it. You're going to take your entire layer cake and you're going to cut it all the same way. And so I started by putting my wing just in the bottom corner like this. And I did stack up a few at a time just to make it go faster, but we'll just cut 1 layer cake for now. And then you don't want to flip your template, you just want to spin it. Because if you flip it, you're going to get pieces going the wrong direction. And I had all of my trees going the same direction.
Like right from the beginning, you figured that out?
No, I took some testing because I tried to fold it first and it just doesn't
Right.
work. So,
And then you have opposites.
and so I just kept flipping it back and forth across my
And for this
layer
quilt, you
cake.
only used the wing, right?
Yep, exactly. Just this large wing template. So you can see how that works out. Whoops. There we go. And you would just keep going. You'll get 4 out of each layer cake square, and then you're going to pair those with a background piece. And so it's actually cut the exact same way. You also want to make sure that your template is facing the same direction as when you cut your tree pieces. And so
Okay, so if you laid them on here, they would be identical.
exactly the same.
Okay, that makes
Yep.
sense.
And so if you want to sew just one of those together, I've got
I
a
would
few
be
more ready.
happy to. All right. So people are always looking up for, what do you line up, where do you go? And so if we just put that corner on that corner and this corner on this corner, they should just come out perfect.
Yep.
With any luck, right?
Or close to it, close enough, that's for sure.
All right. I took off like a racehorse there. All righty.
There we go. And Nat, if you want to go ahead and press that.
I will do that.
And then to make our blocks, we're going to put 3 of these together.
3 little trees.
3 little trees, that's right. I'm going to switch it for this green one. It'll show up better. And then
Well,
we'll
some of the
use this.
fabrics are just so cute. Well, I love this line
them
anyway.
so much. And so then we're just going to sew these 3 together. So if you want to do that.
All right. Lay it on here. So there's no trimming at this point?
None
or?
at this point.
All right, let me see here. Here we go. There we go. And one more. And you do have to look to make sure they're
Yeah.
all going the same way. You don't want one tree standing on its head, do
No,
you?
you don't.
That would be something I would like have my quilt all finished and be looking at it going, what is
How did
wrong
I
with
do
this?
that?
Some people do hang their trees from the ceiling, though.
I know. It's so
I've
cute.
seen that. That's pretty cool. All right, here we go.
There we go. And if you just want to press that.
Yep.
Alrighty. So now for this quilt to get the staggered effect, we actually have an A block and a B block. And the only difference is for the A block, you're going to sew it on the top. And for the B block, you're going to sew this strip on the bottom. And this just measures 2.5 by 11. And so that's what you're going to add. So let's sew it to the top of this one
Okay.
for our A block. And then I have another one here that we can make into the B block. So we'll add it to the bottom of this one. There's that one.
And this one on the bottom.
There we go. Perfect. All right, and then now I'll have you press this and let me show you how this layout works because it's really simple. You just alternate between your A and B, and the rows actually continue the same. So the next row will still start with an A block and then a B block so that your trees are still staggering. So you don't actually swap. You know, sometimes we're tempted to start with a B here, but that's not what I did. So I just,
the rows are A, B, A, B.
yeah, your columns remain exactly the same all the way down. So that's it. It's as simple as that. And
I love it. No squaring.
no
nothing.
squaring, comes together really nice.
I love it.
You can see I added a nice big 6-inch border, and the quilting pattern I used is called Christmas Lights. It's so cute.
And did you make
Beautiful.
something else?
Oh, I did. We made some little runners. So I actually got 2 runners
Oh
out
my
of one
gosh.
charm pack. I just used some solids.
That's so cute.
I think it's so cute.
great.
This one I didn't do a border, and on this one I did. Oops, it's upside down.
So both of these runners came from one charm pack.
One charm pack.
I'm always
so
looking for
fun.
those things that go a long way.
Makes your fabric go real far. It's
That
very
is
fun.
awesome. I
That
love
is so-
it.
To make the tree farm table runner, you'll need 1 package of 5-inch squares, and I used the Kona Paintbox Basics by Robert Kaufman. You're going to need 1 1/4 yards of background fabric, and I just used this white, and an additional 1/2 yard for your outer border, which I used in white as well. For your backing, you'll need 1 3/4 yards, and you'll need the small wing template.
What did you call this again?
This is Christmas Tree Farm, and this is just the Tree Farm Runner. So
Tree.
I think this would look great in a full-size quilt.
I
do
agree.
too.
I know.
For
What,
my birthday.
Okay, okay, perfect, perfect. Now I can add it to the list.
There you go.
I love it. Maybe next year, but
There you go.
eventually. All right, so Jenny, you're up next.
Okay, let's do it. So it's my turn, and this is my quilt right here.
So
First of all, it's made of flannel, and it's just so cozy and comfy. And second of all, what interested me in this template was the idea that we could make half rectangle triangles out of them. It's an easy way to do that, you know, and for a lot of us, we're like, oh, how do we get, and this makes it so easy. So to make this quilt, you're going to need 1 package of 10-inch squares, and we have used Snow Days by Bonnie Sullivan from Maywood. You're going to need a 1/2 yard for your inner border, and for your outer border, you're going to need 1 1/4 yards. For your backing, you're going to need 4 3/4 yards or 2 1/2 yards of a 108 wide. For your binding, you're also going to need 3/4 yard of fabric, and we use this stripe. We also used the large wing template, and you'll probably need a ruler to square your project with. What I did with mine was I took 2 pieces and stacked them up, and these were my partner pieces, if you
Okay.
will. And because they're flannel, they stay together so nice, and I folded mine in half. I wanted a piece that went one way and the other way. I wanted the 2 differences.
Okay.
And so I'm going to start here like this, and I'm going to cut it just in from the little peaked edges, so I will be trimming that off.
Did you have trouble cutting through 4 layers of flannel? Or
No.
was that no big deal?
It's really no big deal. Flannel cuts like butter. I mean, and it sews like butter. It's also so forgiving. I mean, it's just super forgiving as far as seams or, you know, boo-boos or anything like that. Super easy. All right, so now again, I'm like Natalie, I'm going to use this edge right here as my cutting, and I'm going to come and cut right down the side, across the bottom, and this little notch on the top. All right, so then what I did was I kind of just swapped mine out. So I have the same 2 pieces here So this is going to make the one side of the block, and you'll get 2 blocks out of these 2 pieces, but you have to take one from each side to make it work. And so on this one over here, again, I'm going to put this one this way, and then this one this way. And so then you have your 2 going the same direction. So Misty, if you want to sew these together,
Sure.
and I'm going to set them up, and flannel, again, is one of those things where when you put them together, they are not moving much.
I do love that they kind of just
Yeah,
hold,
they just
hold in
hold
place.
on. So you can chain piece these,
Okay.
and so once you get your pieces cut,
Can't find the pedal.
that was my long leg I sewed last, and it just went all the way under. We can do all 4 of these. And I have to check each time to make sure they're still gonna match up. And here's another for you. And then this last one. And they just hug onto each other so they can keep going. I'm gonna snip this, and Natalie, I'm gonna let you press these open.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, and then these 2. And then once you get those done, Misty can sew those together. It's way fast when you have help.
I know.
You have an ironer, you have a sewer.
Team sewing.
Yeah. So then these again, you're going to make sure they're going the same direction. Line them up and put them on there.
Okay. Ooh, started to shift on me a little bit there. Might have to pull that out.
All right. You might have to Jenny rip it. There you go. That is a Jenny rip.
That is a Jenny rip. Now you know.
They talk about this too. Are we going to Jenny rip this? And yeah, that's a Jenny rip. Now don't try that with batiks.
Yeah, no.
And if you want to do that, you know, you want to make sure that your stitch length is not tiny, because it
It's
won't
true.
come apart if it's not
And
tiny.
I've learned after watching you that you have to be like committed to it.
Yeah.
You have to just
Oh yeah. If you hesitate,
it
Yeah,
does damage.
it's like you start that little, cut a few threads, and then you're just like. All right, here's this one,
Yeah, there we go.
and then we'll press that. All this busyness going on
Yeah.
around me. Uh-oh, we missed this little.
Oh
Oh, we can't Jenny rip that.
no!
Let me get a
How
little
did
seam
that
ripper.
happen?
Well, it's just one little stitch. It
that-
just many.
Here we go.
Oh, there we go. All right. So I'm just going to clip this little edge right here,
Yeah,
and then you can fix that right there.
right.
There we go. And then Natalie, if you'll press that open. Now, on my block, you can see that what I did here is I have a block going up and down, and a block going sideways, and a block going up and down. So my blocks have to be square. And so there's a little bit of trimming and a little bit of waste I don't love, but I think the outcome is worth it. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure how wide this is. Now everybody, with your seam allowance, it's going to come out your size. So see what size it is. And mine comes out to, let me measure this right here. It should be pretty close to 7.5, I think. So let's see. So we are at 7.5 wide, which means we need it to be 7.5 inch tall. So I'm here like this, and you can see I'm an easy 9. All right, so then we're going to square this, because it's 7.5 wide, we're going to square it 7.5 long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some off the top, and I'm going to take some off the bottom. So I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to take a, I don't know, just a little chunk off. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to count it to 7.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I know I need to do the 1/2 inch right here. So it's like about, you know, mine is about 3/4 of an inch off either side. I didn't worry about losing my points because what I wanted to do with this was I wanted to put it together fence rail style. So again,
I love how it turned out. I think it's so cute.
I think it's really fun, and it's just a really quick quilt. And of course, I love the look of the half square triangles. you know, I'm sorry, the half rectangle triangles. I love that look. And there are so many things that you can do. I mean, once you have this unit done, there are so many things you can do with that. So I'm going to take this piece off here, and then we're going to come over 5, 6, 7.5 right here, and trim this off. And so then once you get your little blocks squared like this, then you can put them together like a fence rail. So let me show you how I did that. All right, so I have one block here, and it's going, I'm looking at these going up and down. This one will go sideways. You know, this one will go up and down. Well, let's put a whole different one in here.
Mix it up.
So they're all
Up and down,
scrappy.
and this one will go sideways. And so it's just a matter of up and down and turn, and up and down and turn, just like this. When you start the next row, you're going to start it like this, and then this one will go up and down, sideways, up and down. And so that's how you lay it out. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks across, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down. Now, whenever a line, you guys know I'm crazy about a bias stripe, and this one has a bias stripe. That doesn't mean we cut it on the bias. That means it's printed on the bias, so that if we cut straight pieces, we're getting that bias look. And of course I wanted to use it in the binding. I love a bias strip in the binding, but it was so cute, I decided to use it also in the first border, because I just think it made this quilt pop, and you know, it's just fun to be able to use a bias stripe.
So stripe
watch,
binding is always a good idea.
and so just watch for those in fabric lines when they come out, because those stripes, those are our favorites for things like that. So this was my quick, easy project, and I have a little mini as well. So this was the big wing. Now we're talking about the little wing, and I have it right over here. It's exactly the same way, exactly the same pattern, but look how cute this is in this fabric.
So cute.
So to make the Just Wing It Mini, you will need 2 charm packs of solid colors, and we've used Bella Solids Green and Bella Solids Red for Moda. You're going to need, for your backing, 1 1/4 yards. You're going to need, for your border, you can see on the quilt here, we've used this nice green, and you're going to need 1/4 yard for that border. For this background fabric right here, you're going to need 2 fat quarters of that. It's also helpful to have the small Just Wing It template. Now, one of the things that's fun about this is just a pack of green solids and a pack of red solids, and then we chose this kind of gold. This is a grunge fabric.
It's one of the metallic dots.
Yeah, for the background. And we actually had a, you know, we didn't have any border fabric because this was a mini we just made up with of stuff we had in the studio. And so we found this kind of grunge out here that had the gold in it, and I think it looked really nice and added to it.
It's perfect.
We quilted it with jingle bells, which I think is so cute. It's fun to use those Christmas quilting patterns when we can.
Oh, and your
And on
quilting
this one over
pattern.
here is the meandering snowflakes. And on a flannel, it's going to be a little hard to see because, you know, they blend in and they're busy.
It shows up better on the back, actually.
So let's look at the
Oh,
back.
yes.
All right.
Oh, they're
Look
so
at this
cute.
fabric with the snowmen, and you can see here's a little snowflake, and then it meanders down here is a little snowflake, and it meanders, you know. And I mean, it just makes, it's a really cute quilting pattern. So I put a 6-inch border on here with my striped binding. And by the
love
way,
it.
when you hand bind flannel,
It's very nice.
it's so nice. It's
I don't
like,
know that I've ever bound with flannel.
oh, it's just like, really like butter. I mean, your needle just slides through there so nice. So
Wow.
it's fun.
Comforting.
So that's my project.
I love it.
So great.
So this was really fun, you guys. We got to use a new template, the large wing and the small wing. They pair up with the Simple Wedge, and it just makes it really fun. I hope you enjoyed our 3 great quilts and our mini quilts. These were such fun projects. Yep, bonus projects
love a
from
bonus.
all of us. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed this triple play from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. We hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you are not already part of the Missouri Star Quilt family, you can hit the subscribe button below so you won't miss a thing. And if you click that bell, it'll notify you every time a new tutorial comes out. See you next Friday.